Hi, my name's Bronwyn Jane and I am a psychic medium and a soul coach. I have been asked this question before and we've covered it a little bit differently, but I'm taking us to the next level, and that is, can I lose my connection? On one level, I'm going to say, if you're a science person, just forgive me because I'm trying to make this less sciencey and more so we can relate to it. So we know that we're made up of atoms. We know that's our world, and we know that atoms vibrate, and that vibration is where the translation of energy occurs. So therefore, we can always translate energy. The variable is how open we are to that translation. So how aware we are of it, how connected we are to our own energy, whether we are more of a head type of personality where we go into that space. And when we go into that space, it takes us a little bit away from understanding how we're feeling in our energy and being really aware of that. So it can impact our connection to energy if we're quite analytical and quite in that space. So that does have a variable in it. But I wanted to spend more time exploring the more metaphysical side, but still, whilst it's quite metaphysical, I don't want to take us too much into a rabbit hole. But to be aware of the variable with connection is us. It is not spirit. And I'm just going to cover this because I know people go, what's spirit? So spirit is a common word used to describe everything. It's like a bucket that we chuck everything in. It's sort of lazy communication, but it's what the industry does. So spirit is angels, guides, loved ones, other beings. It can be the description for the higher power, even your higher self, God, universe. And as I said, it's a bucket that the industry chucks everything in, and they just use the word spirit. So when I say spirit, it can be one of those things or all of them. So let's just get that out of the way, because I know that people are like, I don't understand spirit, it's so confusing. It's just the word that is used. So when we are connecting with energy, okay, so spirit, we need to be aware of our own energy. And we need to obviously maintain our chakras, and which is part of our energy. And some people are not aware of the chakras outside of our body because they also impact this interpretation of energy, because that's where the energy comes into first before it comes into our main physical chakras. And there's a lot of different chakras outside of our body. They're dimensional chakras, and we've got, higher chakras above us as well. And so the energy, when it comes in, goes into those energy centers and is translated and not translated, it is filtered through them before it sort of comes more into the physical, where we can interpret it. Because unless you're fully aware, you probably won't be interpreting the energy through those outer chakras. Most people won't be, though. It'll be more when they come into the more physical ones and closer that the interpretation will occur. So I'm going to say to you, you can impact your connection. You can never shut it down totally, but you can almost do it. And the reason why you can't shut it down totally is because of the way atoms work. But you can definitely significantly almost shut it down, I'm going to say, based on you. You are the variable. So based on how you're traveling, what your energy is, you will impact it. If you are, and I want to just cover one part of this, because we could go through every chakra and the dimensional chakras and explore all of those and just answer this question based on each chakra. But I'm not going to do that because that is too much for now. It is quite an extensive subject. But I want to talk about the upper chakras, because that's where this energy will come in and it will filter in before it comes into our physical. So we have above our crown, which most people will have known of the crown, we have above that what's called the transpersonal point, and it's a few discs of energy, and it's sort of, the energy will go through that. You think of like plates kind of thing overlapping. There's a third one, and it will go through that and then into our crown. Now, if on a human level, okay, so in our incarnated experience, if we are spending a lot of time in the energy of ego and pride, which impacts this filtering system up here, it will impact how much of that energy will come into us and how polluted, if you like, it will be as well, because that will impact your connection. So if you're spending a lot, or if you just hold a lot of energy that is ego or pride, as I said, it impacts that higher filtering system and it will impact how it comes into you. Now, we hear ego a lot. I wish there was another word, because it's so overused in metaphysical circles and even outside of it. So it's not being egotistic, because that's at its extreme and it's just one aspect of ego. So ego on a spiritual level can be being a victim. Okay, it can be thinking that you are better than others. It can be putting people on pedestals, like making them be more than what they are. It can also changing, where you have to change yourself to fit in. That is all ego. When you stop being authentic and disconnecting from that sort of more humble energy, it's all sort of slips into that ego. As I said, it's quite a broad subject, and I could spend half an hour, an hour talking just about ego. But so the best way to think of it is, if there's any judgment applied, we're slipping into ego, and that includes judgment of yourself. So that victim energy, this shouldn't have happened to me. Why did this happen to me? All that is ego. It is also thinking that you are better or not good enough. Okay, as well. So if you think you're not good enough, we're slipping into ego. If we think someone is better, or you think you're better, that's ego as well. If you are changing yourself to fit into a group or a situation, you're slipping into ego, because you're stepping out of your authentic self. So all that is ego. If you are having that energy of being a little bit superior than someone, that you're more than someone based on an experience, or sometimes people do it with knowledge, ego. Some people think just because they've read a certain amount of books or they've studied something that they're more than someone that hasn't. No, it's ego. It's just different. It doesn't mean one's better than the other, it's just different. So that's ego. And pride. So consider, when you do something, what your motives for doing it are. If your motives for doing something is to get recognition of some description, whether it be emotional or physical, to be noticed, that's all that pride energy. It's quite misunderstood. But if we're doing things and we're just doing them with expecting nothing in return, and truly expecting nothing in return, that's perfect. We're in that humble energy. But if we're doing things and we expect something in return, we're doing it because we want something back, okay, that's not where we want to be. So if we're going to give whatever it is, however we're applying our energy, whether it be as in a physical sense or an emotional sense, we have to do it without expecting something in return, to stay out of these energies that we're trying to avoid. Now, I know what I'm asking you is ridiculously hard. It just is. And I don't expect to be able to do it straight away, but I am encouraging you to start being aware. When you do something, your motives. Ask yourself, why am I doing it? And own why you're doing it too, because if you're doing it because you want something in return, own it. Don't lie to yourself, because you'll never shift your energy if you're lying to yourself. So when we are in those energies, as I said, it impacts the filtering system in the transpersonal point. So it changes how that pure energy comes into us. So it will impact our connection. The more we are in those energies of victim or that more egotistical pride energy, all those, so it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum, the more we are in that, the more we will impact the filtering system. So be aware of that. And if you're in it a lot, it's going to impact it a lot, and you're going to feel like your connection is shut down. And it's really, the way to think of it is almost like you had a flood of energy available to you, like as if like a massive amount of water. Think of like a storm water drain. You had that kind of thing. And then you have put these filters in place of being in ego, being in pride, and now a drip is coming through. And that drip is probably so subtle you're not noticing. So to shift that, you need to shift your energy. You need to get out of pride and ego, because when we're in pride and ego, we become separate from ourselves. And our self is not our physical self. Our self is our soul. When we become separate from our soul, it impacts our connection. It just does. So be aware of that. So if you want to improve your connection, consider where you sit on those two energies of pride and ego. As I said, because they are part of the higher filtering system in our transpersonal point. And if you have this whole, as I said, I give very basic visuals, but think of that whole lot of stormwater energy kind of being available, and you are blocking it now, and only a drip can come through because that transpersonal point is impacted by that energy of pride and ego. So explore it. When it shows up, move through it so you can shift those filtering systems, to clear them, to take that out, so you have access to all the energy. And your connection won't happen straight away, because it will take a lot of work if they're really bedded in, to shift that so you can open up your connection. So I'm going to leave that with you. It was a lot, wasn't it? But it is worth understanding that if your connection needs to change, you are the variable. The work needs to start with you and your energy. Just does. You're the variable. You're the one that impacts your connection, no one else. If you like this kind of information, if you, I don't know, think that I'm kind of, worth spending some time with, even if it's for a few minutes, I invite you to go across to my website, bronwynjanemedium.com. I wish you a wonderful day, and good luck with exploring your energy.